Okay, welcome to week 3 of our red and white sock scrimmage. It's a tight scrimmage and a tight race. And in this process, we are learning the over easy socks. And so Stephanie, one of the things that people have been coming into the shop and talking about is the fit, really trying to figure out that fit. And I know some of it is trial and error, but can you just review kind of how you got, because you told me yours fit pretty good the first time.
Yeah, the first time I think it was just luck that mine happened to work out because I really didn't know what I was doing either. I was just guessing. And fortunately for me, it did work out. But I did do her calculation she has. I think it's on page 4 of the pattern, where it talks about getting gauge or not. So I measured my foot circumference. I put in the gauge I wanted to knit it at, and that's how I came up with casting on 29 stitches. So I think that was helpful for me. And then I followed her length suggestion for that size I was knitting to knit it 3 3/4 inches shorter than my sock foot length I wanted. And it worked out pretty well. I ended up adding a few rows on my second pair, and I did like the fit of that one better, but the first one was pretty close, and they're not unwearable by any means. But I
Mhm.
know a lot of people have struggled with it and had to rip out and make adjustments. Uh, I know
So
Joanne.
yeah, we want to talk to Joanne. I want to ask you a question. You said she has a gauge of 9.5 stitches, and we really teach 8. Is that what you work off of, Steph, is your 8?
Yes.
Okay. And so you plugged in, I'm going to admit that I'm not a very good pattern reader. I blow right through things. And as Steph called my attention to this, I'm like, wow, there's a wealth of information there. So she says, multiply it times. And so you multiplied it 8 times your foot circumference, correct?
She does 38 stitches per 4 inches. That was her example. So I did 32 per 4 inches. Yeah, and then
Okay.
uh you multiply your foot measurement by 0.9 to get your finished sock circumference, because that's for the negative ease. Um, and then you multiply your sock circumference by your 8 stitches per inch or whatever your gauge is to get your total stitches, and then you divide that by 2 and add 1 to it.
Okay. Well, that's pretty good. That might have been a good place to start. Now, one other question I want to ask you before we talk to Joanne. When she says 3.5 inches shorter than your foot length, how do you know your foot length? Are you standing on a ruler? How did you determine that?
I know my foot length from all the other socks that I've knit, and I determined that by basically using the sock ruler tool that you have at the shop.
Right.
Because if you can stand against the wall and put the back of your heel on it and find out what your actual foot measurement is, and then I take off 2 inches for my toe usually, and then a half inch for the negative ease. So for my size 10 foot, I'm usually knitting my foot length 7.5 inches, but that's including the heel that's already there. So this was a little bit different because your heel isn't there yet.
Right. So how long did you end up? 5.5, right? Or 6?
I did 6.
6. Okay. Okay. All right. Because I think that's helpful for us. If I'm a 9.5, then I might do 5.5 kind of thing. So, and that is from that last marker, right? From the end of the ribbing that you do that length.
There's another set of markers after the ribbing. That's where you're marking your heel. That's where you want to measure
Where
from.
you measure from. Okay. Okay, good. All right. So let's let you go ahead and interview Joanne.
Joanne, well, she's been she's been texting me for the last couple weeks with all her issues with the sock and fit trouble and everything. So she's had quite the experience. Joanne, do you want to tell about that?
Well, I thought because I usually do 64, that I would just, instead of going through all the calculations, I would do the 33. So I did the 33, and then I calculated minus the toe and heel. I assumed, I was thinking, I think 4 inches or whatever, because 2 inches for the toe, 2 inches for the heel. So anyway, I knit mine with that bifurcated heel, and that thing bags on me really bad. So I thought, okay, I'm going to do the exact same one, but I'm going to switch to the other heel. And those fit pretty good, other than they're a little bit roomy. But I have, my foot is an 11 foot, and I also have very narrow feet and a very narrow heel. So I think part of my problem is I don't, and I have flat feet. So I don't need that extra instep as part of my problem, I think. So I think I was trying to make the bifurcated heel fit me instead of just making the sock fit. But actually it came out cute even with the shadow wrap heel.
Do you have it to show?
Oh, let me go get him. I forgot to bring him.
Okay. So she inserted the shadow wrap heel, Steph. And where
Yes.
would you insert a shadow wrap heel?
The same place where you would put the other heel. It's just she had to recalculate because she wasn't going to have those extra rows that were in the bifurcated heel.
Here's my bifurcated, and I tried it on and I took a picture. Steph, it was really baggy, wasn't it?
It was.
Super baggy. So here's now mine with just the shadow wrap heel, which is so much sleeker.
Mm-hmm.
And I basically used her short toe. How she did that, I just did that for my heel.
How's it fit, Joanne? That second one with the short.
This one fits pretty well, other than it's a little bit roomy up in here. So anyway, I recalculated my numbers, and mine came out to 31. And she doesn't have that on the chart, but I went with that one. And so this is my 31 one.
Neat.
Thanks. So anyway, I think this one fits a little bit better because it's slimmer, a little bit tighter to my foot. However, I'm not sure still about the length. If I think it's kind of hard to know the length, because I tried the 29 and I had a nightmare with the 29, because when I went and put my heel in, the regular shadow wrap heel, I thought my correct calculations on my instep, I couldn't even put the sock on from the heel, so I didn't finish it. So I don't know, maybe I could have, and I didn't even think, I could have probably tried the bifurcated heel, maybe it would have worked. I don't know. But anyway,
Such a journey.
It's been a journey, but anyway, I guess I liked it enough that I tried another one. So
okay. All right. Well, I think by sharing these things, for those of you that are working on it, we can maybe help you avoid some of the missteps. And Steph, you're just darn lucky that you got it right. You kind of right the first time. So tell us about this heel before we show the videos.
Okay, so the heel is going to be done in 4 different sections. So instead of a regular shadow wrap, where it's 2 different sections, it's 4 different sections. There are no triple stitches in the heel. So if you hate the triple stitches, you don't have to do them. And then there are a couple places in the heel too where you knit across and you actually join it to the selvage stitch. But it all says that in the pattern. I would recommend using markers for sure, especially since it's done in 4 different parts. I didn't use markers for the toe because it was basically how we normally do the heel. But it's very helpful to have them in for this kind of heel.
No doubt. Yeah, the markers were important. Okay, we're going to watch then these, and Steph, is as we're watching them, if there's something you want to say about it, Just say it. Okay. All righty, here we go. Let's take a look at these. It's time to learn the bifurcated heel. Bifurcated heel means more space. And she talks about that it's a short row heel that's similar to a typical short row heel that you're familiar with, like our shadow wrap heel, but with an extra set of short row shaping. And you can kind of see it here that this is one set, and then there's kind of a wedge in the middle, and then there's another one here. And so typically in our other short row heel, it would be work up, work down. So we're going to be doing kind of sections. There's really a 1, 2, 3, and 4 part shaping that we are going to be taking a look at. And it's basically what we just did for the toe. So for heel row shaping 1, I am ready. I have worked row 1, which is a right side row. I slipped, and then for my size, I knit 8. Then I knit 11 to have the in between, and then I knit to the last 2 stitches, which I have done here. And then I would do my typical lifted short row that you just saw in the heel shaping. It's the exact same thing. Lift, put it up onto the needle, knit into it, put it back on, and then go back over and do the same thing on the purl side. So I'm not going to demonstrate that. You can watch it in the previous section here, but you will work each stitch until all the stitches are worked between on the left and the right side of these markers, with these being plain in between. And Holly likes to put those markers in, which is a nice kind of visual for us for doing that. So I will do that, and then we'll come back and look at what we do next to get ready for heel shaping part 2. I have nearly completed heel shaping part 1. So I have, for my size, 1 plain, 8 twin stitches, the 11 in between, and then 8 twin stitches and 1 plain. And what the next row wants us to, what you're to do is you're going to knit all the way down to here. And that will mean that you will knit all of those twin stitches together. That's what you will do, okay? I had an extra stitch. I'm confessing. I had 30 instead of 29. So I'm just going to knit those 2 together right there, so that then in the future, for my next section, I should have checked that from the beginning, make sure I had the 30 stitches, but I didn't. So I'm just going to edge it a little bit. So you work across here, and now I'm going to encounter my first twin stitch. So in a short row heel where we work back down, we would triple this stitch, but all we're going to do is put in and knit those 2 together, knit the next 2 together, and so forth until you've worked all the way down to that single stitch. Two more. Then the directions tell us to do something we're familiar with. And so slip this knitwise, and then we're going to pick up, and there you can see that we've got that mark. This is our heel stitch. This is where we knit it and placed it a while ago. That tells us that this is where the heel is going to be put. So I slip the next stitch, then I'm going to pick up and knit like we did all the way along the sole. And you could take that marker out, or you can leave it in if you want. Pick up and knit, and then I knit those 2 together through the back loop.
And at this point, I would take that marker out. Now to finish, you've got to work your wrong side row. And so when you work your wrong side row, you will purl all of these stitches. And then when you get down to here, you'll purl those two as the two strands of twin stitches together. You'll slip this and pick up purlwise as we did on the sole. So let me get to that point and we'll give it a look. Okay, we're coming upon the last couple of twinned purls, wrong side. So we purl those two together, Then you're going to slip that last unworked stitch, and we've got to come and do the pick up and purl. So we're going to find, which is so helpful to have those markers in there, that marker. And sometimes I'm thinking that, there we go. You could lift the stitch up a little bit to find your V, purl into that. It's just cumbersome with the marker there. I'm going to take that marker out. And then we've got to purl those two together. You know, when I got that extra stitch, it's probably because I forgot to do this, something to that effect. So we'll purl those two stitches together. And then I think someone ought to count to make sure that we've still got the 29 stitches. Okay, that is the heel shaping part 1. Now we're going to do the heel shaping part 2. And you are going to use these markers. So you would not take those markers out as you go. Heel shaping part 2, we will slip one with yarn in back. You'll knit to 1 stitch beyond the second marker. So that's this marker. And then you're going to twin the stitch, turn, and turn, and it'll tell you have 7 stitches. And then unworks. And then you're going to purl back to 1 stitch beyond the marker, the second marker, do a twin, and then you'll start doing your short rows. So you're going to be working back down like we do in a traditional short row heel. So there's no triple stitches here yet.
So Steph, you want to address that? When I said that, I didn't know that there weren't going to be triple stitches the whole sock. So there are no triple stitches, but we had a discrepancy about the pattern reads to 1 stitch beyond the marker, which is how I did it. I moved the marker and I did that 1 stitch, but she shows in her video something different, right?
It's actually the second stitch after the marker. And when I had knit both of my first pair, I messed up on the first one and didn't have the right count. And I was like, okay, I'm going to pay attention on the second one. I did it the same thing. It might just be how I was interpreting it, but I would read 1 stitch beyond the marker would be the stitch right after the marker, where she means it's the second stitch after the marker.
Okay, because I read it the first stitch after the marker. But and that's how I did mine, and then my numbers turned out okay. So you mentioned, if you look in the pattern, then she's got numbers for every section that you need to do, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you guys can answer that this week for us to see how yours turns out. Okay. All right, next.
For heel shaping part 2, you will knit up and knit to 1 stitch beyond the second marker and make a twin stitch, which I have done here. Then you'll turn and you'll go back around, back down, back across, and then you'll do a purl to 1 stitch beyond the second marker, which would be second marker when it's turned around, and do a twin stitch. And now I'm going to do short row 3 and short row 4. And for short row 3, it says knit to the next twin stitch and knit 1. So when I come to this, I'm going to have to knit both of those strands together. Then I'll make a twin stitch and turn. And I'll do that back to the purl stitch. And then I just repeat that 2 more times. We'll come and look at that. All right, I am done with heel shaping part 2. And you'll pay attention to your numbers, but I have worked down to where there are 4 unworked on one side. There's 1 twin stitch. Then there are 19 stitches in between the other twin stitch on this end. And you would have ended with a wrong side row, which is what I've done. And so I've got the correct number of stitches. You don't work all the way down. You're only working, in my instance, 4 times 4 with a 5th, 4 past that to create the stitches. And now I'm ready for heel shaping part 3.
So with this is where I was a little bit confident and I didn't read the pattern very well. And so I just did it all the way down. So you are not to go all the way down. You're just going 4 or 5 or whatever your numbers are beyond that, because it's like a shortened short row, right, Stephanie?
Right.
Yeah. So I spent an hour and a half taking it out and putting it all back in. So read your pattern. I'm just sharing from experience of read your pattern. All right. Now you could watch the gnome class if you'd like that, but we'll go to the next.
I'm beginning heel shaping part 3. And the first row says that you knit to 1 stitch before the twin stitch. So here it is, 1 stitch before, and then you make a twin stitch, which I have done. So then the directions say, the first time this is worked, there will be 4, and again, remember, I'm talking about my numbers. There will be 4 stitches, 4 stitches unworked, and 2 stitches, 2 twin stitches at the end of the row. And so you need to understand there, she's considering this the end of the row. Then for the short row wrong side, we will purl back and we will purl to 1 stitch before our previous twinned stitch, and we'll work those. And then we're going to repeat that 3 more times. Toe shaping part 3. Heel shaping, sorry, heel shaping part 3. I have completed it. So you work it, and then you will have 5 twin stitches and 4 unworked, 5 and 4 unworked. So it's really important that you pay attention to the numbers here. Now to complete this, the final directions for section 3 of the heel is you will knit to the end, knit to the last stitch. And you will need to work the stitches together. So come up to them. We've been doing this, so it should be familiar for you. Come here, knit those 2 together. Remember, I like to pull it down a little bit so I can get my needle in there. There's 4 twin stitches that we're working. Or I'm sorry, 5 for my size. Then you knit to the last stitch, and you're going to do something that we're familiar with. So we knit to the last stitch, knit that, slip that knitwise. Then we're going to pick up and knit. I can see that I don't do it into this stitch, but I do it into this. I want to go under the V I pick up a knit. That means I've added an extra stitch, and then you knit those two together through the back loop, same selvage stitch that we've been doing all the way along here. And to complete this section, you'll turn, slip one with yarn in front, purl all the way down, and you'll purl these together, and then we'll do our slip purl pickup like we have done all the way. And we'll be ready for the final part 4 of the heel shaping.
And Steph, as I was doing this, the heel looks so funny. You know, it looks bubbly, right? When you're
yeah.
kind of building this middle part out.
Heel shaping part 4. We're going to do short rows again, and you'll slip one with yarn and back and knit to one beyond the second marker, make a twin stitch, turn, and then you'll purl to one stitch beyond the second marker, make a twin stitch. And at that point, your heel markers can now be removed when you start to work this. Then we're going to knit back, and we'll knit that twin stitch together, make another one. And so we're going to be working back down, down the mountain, so to speak, to finish this sock. And you can see that this bifurcated heel, that this was just a little, you know, we were doing 4 stitches here. So it's not one that goes all the way down. It's just going to be giving you extra room in there. So I'm going to work on this, and then we'll come back and look at how we finish. For this final section of our heel, I've removed the markers, and you're just working all the way back down. So what I did is when I encountered the twin stitch, then I knit those together, purled them together, and then I twin. And so I need to do one more where I would knit down, twin this stitch, purl back, twin the stitch, and then I'm done. I would finish by knitting all the way down and purling all the way back. And that will be the completion of the bifurcated heel. Okay, here's my completed bifurcated heel. It's kind of got 3 sections. 1, 2, 3 in it. Turned out pretty good. So now you see that I've got these stitches of 29 left, and then you will be working the pickup like we did before on those up to the rolled edge, and then we do a little rolled edge to finish the sock. So it's nearly done. Looks good. We're going to hope, take it out. We're going to hope that it fits. Be interesting because this heel has more room. I was pretty skeptical about it, but now that I see it finished, I think the heel may give me enough room to make this work.
Okay, jury is still out on whether it's going to fit or not. I put it on, and it's pushing the limits. I probably should have gone another 1/2 inch on my length, but I won't know that until I do the top of the cuff kind of thing. So, Steph's got a couple tips for that in case you want to move forward on that this week. But are there any questions, or Steph? You're the one that's knit more of these. So did I miss something in that or misspoke in any way? I was just kind of trying to work off the directions. So.
No, I don't think so. I think you got everything.
Well, we'll see. Anybody have questions about it? Or anybody tips with it? Jan, you've made a pair and finished a pair.
I know you addressed this in the video, but I probably wasn't paying close enough attention. When you're picking up the selvage edge stitches, are you picking up both sides of the V or just one?
Both.
Both.
You are doing both. Okay, that's what I thought.
Mhm.
Thank you.
And that would have been the picking up of those edges was shown last week. So that would be one to look at, Jackie, last week for those
Oh,
pick
perfect.
yeah,
Okay, thank you.
selvage edge. You bet. Jan, how
Um,
about you?
I didn't struggle. I read the pattern, I think as the designer meant it to knit to one stitch. So she's saying knit to the one stitch beyond. So it actually, she could have probably put the knitting to and including one stitch beyond the marker, then it would have made it a lot clearer. But yeah, and I actually really like the fit because I've got a very high instep. I've got a ballet foot, and yeah, and I've blocked it. And the other thing, this sock here hasn't been blocked, and this one has. And this is reading 8 stitches per inch, and this is reading 9 stitches per inch. So I reckon the blocking does loosen your gauge a little bit. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So you
I
went to
will-
one stitch beyond. So you
Yes.
knit a stitch and then you twin the next stitch, where I did
Yes.
mine right
Yeah.
next. So maybe I was way off on my numbers.
I
So
don't think it would really matter, and I just think that this sort of section, the parts of the V here, would
Uh-huh.
just move one stitch up there. As long as you're doing the same on both sides, I don't
Sure.
think it would really matter. But then you wouldn't have her amount of stitches at the end. You may have one extra.
Right.
But as long as it's like a card game, as long as you've all following the same rules, if you do the same on the left and the right,
Yeah.
you kind of will be all right. But if you want to keep to her stitches, yeah. And the only other thing I would do is I would go an extra ½ inch on this section, but it fits perfectly. But I take a 38 European, and I
Mhm.
think if someone with a 37, it would just be like a slipper. It would be beautiful.
Okay, so that's kind of
yeah.
what we're discovering is that whatever you think, you maybe go another ½ inch, because that was my instinct as well. I felt like I should have, and then I quit. And better maybe to be long than to be short, would we
Yeah.
say?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
But
thanks for
it's
that.
fine. It's fine.
It is fun.
So,
So Stephanie, thanks, Jan. What's the advice on working because you're going to do your rib, your cuff kind of the same way. You pick up, you pick up, you pick up, you pick up.
Yeah. Well, and I wasn't planning on making any more right now, but I was kind of having knitter's remorse seeing everybody else's pictures. So I did start another one for my mother-in-law. So they're just so fun once you get the hang of it. So it's kind of hard to show probably from my camera, but when they kind of twist differently, the selvage stitches on the cuff. And so she said, whichever way you're going, make sure the V is at the left. So I don't know how to show it on mine, but I did take pictures pointing it out that I will post in the Ravelry thread.
Okay.
But that was the designer's tip, because if you're not picking those up correctly, you can end up with like an extra bar along your cuff.
Okay. Well, yeah, post those in our Ravelry thread, and then I'll film that for myself. And we'll have that for next week, and then we will have accomplished this sock. Who's still, Tana, are you doing it? Did you bail? Are you doing it? Okay, you are. Okay, good. Linda Thurber, are you doing it?
I'm going to start it tomorrow.
Okay. All right. And let's see, Jane, you're knitting socks to finish for gift giving, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then Marilyn, what's your plan?
Well, right now I'm doing Husker
Okay.
socks. So I haven't tried that new pattern yet.
Okay, all right, all right. And then Sue Brinkman, you're working on regular socks?
Yeah, I did the over easies this summer.
Yeah, okay. All right. Very good. Well, we need to have some drawings, Kay. We have a challenge to post your results, and we had some really great posts up there. So thank you for sharing. And we're drawing for 5 baby bees. So woohoo. So we're giving 5 different baby bees. Look at all those. That's from everybody's posts.
Yep.
Okay.
Everybody who
How it
posted
works
this week.
Yeah,
Pardon?
how it works is when you come in, then you just say, I want a free baby bee. And then we just put it on and take it off kind of thing. So, all right, Kay, let's go ahead and draw for some of these baby
Okay,
bees.
first one. Jan.
Jan, congratulations. Yay.
Angie, before you post that, I will, I'd like to order that book that you were talking about in your little lunchtime chatter on Monday. What was it called?
Well, you want the doodle one or the gnome
Yeah.
one?
The doodle one.
I don't know. Do we have one, Kay? I think there's one left.
We might still have, yeah.
Yep.
It's fine. And
Okay.
then I'll go and order it now when we finished.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're
Okay.
down to one. I think we're down to
Okay.
one. Okay.
Okay.
There's number 2. Brenda Weekly.
Woohoo, Brenda. Want a baby bee? Okay.
Who gets
Next.
third every time. Jan got another one.
All right,
Oh,
Jan.
you want to give it to somebody else?
That's up to
I'm
you.
happy
You
to
can
take
gift it.
2, but maybe somebody else would like one.
Okay.
Okay. We'll disfigure that. So we've done 2. Joyce Besh.
Joyce. Okay. Great.
Oh, that's Jan again. See, Jan posted a lot this week. She did a lot of,
We'll throw a bonus
commenting
one in.
and
We'll throw a bonus
being-
one in for you, Jan.
Okay, thank you.
Carla.
Yay, Carla. Okay, I've got 4. One more.
One more. Who's this last lucky one? Yep, that's Jan. Back in. Told you she did a lot of commenting.
We'll get you some baby bees, Jan.
Carla.
Carla, all right. We got some double winners tonight.
Uh-huh.
You can put mine back in too. Give it to somebody else. That's fine.
Okay.
All right, you guys are being generous. Jessica did bring in a whole batch of variegated baby bees, so speckled ones. So I'll post a picture of that in the coming 2 days. And if you decide you want one of those, let us know. They're pretty cool. Okay,
And Jane.
Jane. Okay,
Mhm.
Jane want a baby bee. Okay, I've got Jan and Brenda and Joyce and Carla and Jane. Thank you for being so generous tonight, gals. Very good. Very, very good. All right. So this week, we are going to draw for gift certificates again. And it will be when you submit your completed socks. So you complete a sock, we'll put your name in for a drawing. Okay. So we got to get them done this week before next Tuesday at 6:30. And we'll be giving away 2 $10 gift certificates for the completed socks. And everybody's been doing a really good job of sending them in, putting them on Ravelry, or, putting them on most of you are local. So Jan puts hers on Ravelry, and it helps for those of you that are local to bring them in or to text it to us, because then we're not double counting them. We know Jan we do on Ravelry. So
Yeah.
And I was going to
Oh.
say too, we do have books yet for the little gnomes, and your sock leftovers are terrific to make those little gnomes. So give some thought to that. And if you buy the book, we did the class today, but we taped it. And so that will be available to anyone who purchases the book on just kind of some hints of how to do them, how to put them together.
And Kay did a really fabulous job with that class today on those gnomes. And I know for myself, I have no business getting into the gnome business, but it did get me enthused about my sock yarns. You know, to think about all of my sock yarns. It's a great way to bust through all of that sock yarn, Kay. So very good. Hey, everyone. Thanks for jumping on. Have a great week knitting your socks. Good luck with your over easies. I'm hoping we'll have some news to report about fit and how you felt the heel. You know, I can do a regular heel in 32 minutes. And so I spent 3 hours working on this heel, but of course I had to take some back, which was my own fault. So needless to say, I'm feeling like a rookie with this sock, but I do love the look of it very much so. And so I'm not going to give up. I'm going to press on and make sure it works. All right. We'll see y'all next week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
And I'll put in that order now and
We'll put
so
the baby.
you can look at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll get them ready
Bye.
for you. Okay. Bye-bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.